to another top 5 with Kris 05, guys. Today I'm gonna give you an updated meta report for the best decks in Hearthstone right now if you want to be hitting Easy Legend. Right now I'm still on my vacation, so I will be doing this from my hotel room, but I think still the quality should be fine. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would really be awesome, but now let's get into it. Before we get into the best decks, I'd just like to throw in a quick little shout out for Raid Shadow Legends, because I really am enjoying this game a lot right now. I've been playing Raid for over 2 years now, and even though I was skeptical at first, like I know a lot of you are, I did really fall in love with the game, and the sense of accomplishment of being able to beat harder and more challenging dungeons really is awesome in this game. I started my very own YouTube channel about Raid almost half a year ago, and I gotta say things have been looking pretty nice lately, so if you guys wanna check me out on this cool new journey I've taken, would be awesome if you do so. And I also stream live each Tuesday and Thursday where I do free account takeovers, which is basically like coaching in Hearthstone, where I try and help my viewers become even better so they can enjoy the game a lot more. If you use my promo download link, you will actually start the game a lot better than I did 2 years ago, and that's gonna net you 4 amazing champions right out the get-go, and you're also gonna have 24 hours to use the promo code section to get yourself a 5th one, which is absolutely unheard of. So if you want to support the channel for free, download Raid from my download link and start Raid the right way. Hope to see you there.
You are not prepared!
The first deck on the list is actually gonna be Buff Hunter, and I gotta say this deck has been doing absolutely crazy lately, cause not a lot of classes can really handle this amount of stats this early. Buff Hunter is definitely super strong right now, and there is a few differences from the list I've used a few days ago, cause we're actually starting to run things like couple of Supreme Dynamancies, which I'm not actually a huge fan of, but to be fair, they are a 5-drop spell. And they could actually help you out in certain games, so definitely nothing to scoff at. Like, you could do something like RC Rampage into a Supreme Dynamancy follow-up, and that can be absolutely broken and a win condition of its own, so I can definitely see this card being a good inclusion, especially instead of Shallow Drasil, which is an 8 mana do nothing for you in the most part, cause if you reach turn 8 with that deck, usually you've already lost. Other than that, the deck is pretty standard stuff. You are obviously needing to have Gilly in here so you can actually have access to all of the warrior cards, which are Couple, Muscle, and Reserved Spot. You also have Bird Watching so you can fish out your important minions, which are Bumbling Bellhop and your Mythical Room Bear. You have Tracking so you can find those things easier as well. Things like Wound Prey and Bursting Shot. And Spirit Bound so you can actually control the board a little bit better in the early turns if you need to. An Animal Companion honestly is also a pretty cool thing to have, and now I'm noticing this is only a single copy, which I'm definitely not condoning. I would definitely like to have a second copy of Patchwork Pals instead of something else. Maybe one less Wound Prey or something like that, I don't know, but definitely feels like Animal Companion was coming in with the clutch for us a lot of the time. Anyway, let's check out what the matchups are. I will be giving you guys an updated video about that tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Actually, no, I already did give you an updated video today. I don't even know when my videos are coming out anymore, guys, but yeah, I think on the day I'm recording this top 5, you are gonna see the Buff Hunter guide, and the day after the top 5 also comes out, so yeah, there's that. Anyway, here's what the updated matchups are looking like. Everything is green in here, not too much sample size, but good enough to get a good idea, and yeah, you should be winning a lot with this one. For the mulligan going first, you're always gonna want your buffs like Couple, Muscle, and Reserved Spot. Bird Watching is also absolutely MVP, Tracking very important so you can actually find what you're missing, and one of the minions is also great, either Mythical Room Bear or Bumbling Bellhop, but do not keep either of these if you're planning on doing Bird Watching. If you already have Bird Watching, I'd say it would be better if you just throw these back in the water and get something else. These are the really important things you need to be holding on to. Also, if you already have a Bumbling Bellhop in hand, you might consider holding on to a big spell. It would actually be the right thing to do. But if you don't have your good stuff already, you really do not want to be holding on to anything else, like literally anything else. This is your main game plan, and if the main game plan fails, you probably already lost, but if you already have the buffs, if you already have a good minion, then you might consider holding on to things like remote control, like Wound Prey, that kind of stuff, but before you have that, everything is gonna be a full toss so you can actually find yourself the good stuff. On the coin, the situation is much similar, so yeah, still find the buffs, still find the minions, and still do broken stuff. Obviously, if you get yourself a Ranger Gilly in the first few turns, that would be pretty bad, but it's not the end of the world. You still try and buff the good minions instead of Gilly. If it lands on Gilly, well, what you gonna do? It's a 50-50 in the end of the day. And even if you have Reserve Spot, don't try and play Gilly first. You can play this after to get the discount. Just throw the Reserve Spot in, see if it lands on the important minion. If it does, great. If it doesn't, well, what you gonna do? Before we check out the other best Hunter decks, might as well check out the other best Hunter deck, which is also one of the best decks out there, which would be Beast Hunter. Beast Hunter has been doing really well lately, and after the patch, it's still going as strong as ever. The deck is very quick, very consistent, and it does have a pretty simple game plan. You basically play small minions and you try to make them big with the help of things like Supreme Dynamancy, with the help of City Chief Esho. All around, it's a very pleasant deck to be playing with. You have plenty of sticky stuff, like Workhorse, you have Mother Duck, which goes nice and wide, RC Rampage goes wide. We even have a single copy of Ball of Spiders in here, which still seems to be pretty decent, even though some lists do opt to actually cut this thing. We have the remote control, which also helps you go wide on the board without actually having to spend mana, and this way you basically set up yourself a bigger, better RC Rampage, a bigger, better Jungle Gym, that kind of stuff. I do have a guide about this deck, so I definitely advise you to give it a check if you want to really know how to play this one. As for the matchups, here's what the updated stats are looking like. Death Knights are not gonna be your friend for sure. Cog Demon Hunter, not that hot for you, even though after the nerfs it's definitely a bit more bearable. We can see plenty of green stuff here, and at the bottom, Agam Warlock, not your best friend, but everything else super green. Going first, you are gonna want your good curve, so holding on to a 1-drop, 2-drop, that kind of stuff would be great. If you're curving into Workhorse or RC Rampage, that can also be amazing. Fetch is also pretty nice because this thing almost always draws you 2 cards as long as you're not unlucky to grab yourself Esho that way. As for going second, again 1-drop, 2-drop kind of deal, and if you're curving into RC Rampage or Workhorse, those would also be adequate. For other good Hunter decks, it's basically these, Beast Hunter and Buff Hunter. This is the stats for the last 3 days from Diamond to Legend. As you see, this Beast Hunter actually has even better win rate, but very small sample size, but yeah, it's definitely strong. Here's the Buff Hunter I showed you, 1400 games with 59% win rate. And there's plenty of variations of these two, basically. I'm pretty sure Discover Hunter is also somewhere in there. Yes, Neri Hunter, small sample size, not that great a win rate. Quest Hunter is also playable, you could check out my video about it, but obviously it's not as amazing as the other Hunter list, that's for sure. On the number 3 spot, we still have Hog Demon Hunter doing super strong, and even though it's not as strong as it used to be, it's still actually one of the best decks for Easy Legend in Hearthstone, so definitely worth checking out. Really not much has changed about the deck, it's literally the exact same thing from before the patch, and you're still running your Sock Puppets, you're still running your Ball Hogs. But honestly, I do believe including a single copy of Patches here, well obviously a single, he's a legendary, would do you a lot better than the Grim Harvest, let's say, because Grim Harvest does feel a little bit on the sketchy side in this deck, and if you're trying to fit in something else, I'd say the Grim Harvests are the first thing you could cut off. We do have the Living Flame package with the Hot Coals, which is working extremely well against stupid decks like Murloc Pallies. We still have the Tusk Piercer so we can fish out the Ball Hogs, but also the Living Flames this way. And we are running the new cards like Infestation, like Insect Claw, that kind of stuff, so you can basically deal with the board without actually sacrificing face damage. Again, check out my detailed guide about this deck if you really want to get into it. I did upload a video about it not too long ago, so give it a check. It's really strong. For the matchups, we have plenty of stats, and still you get to see Death Knight is doing nice and well against these. Dollhouse Druid a little bit on the negative for you. And also Agam Warlock, not your friend, neither would the Dummy Warrior and Taunt Warrior, so if you're sick of Hog Demon Hunters, now you know what you could be playing to actually make them suffer. When going first, you're gonna be looking for your good 1-drop so you can start chipping some damage. The Spirit of the team is great, especially if you already have a Sock Puppet on 1. Tusk Piercer always a keep. Living Flame can be amazing, especially against board-centric matchups. Grim Harvest, I'd say it's not that amazing, guys. Like, it's an okay thing to be doing on turn 2, but I wouldn't really hold on to it. I would much rather do something a bit more proactive than this. Insect Claw, if you're curving into it, would be great. The rest probably not so hot. On the coin here, you could even straight up hold on to Hot Coals if you feel the matchup warrants it and you don't have your Living Flame. But other than that, the rest looks pretty similar stuff. For other good Demon Hunters, we're gonna have to scroll a little to see something else. Space Demon Hunter, which I showed you from not long ago, is doing really well as well. And it's a lot different than the Hog Demon Hunter at least. I think this is the variant I showed you, 54% win rate with 2400 games, definitely pretty well represented. And the deck is pretty pleasant to play, not gonna lie, like very fun stuff. It really is a nice feeling to actually smack somebody with 30 plus damage straight to the face. You could do the OTK, basically get the stats on one turn and follow up with a cane plus those stats, basically straight up to the mouth, real strong like that. But yeah, check out my guide about Space Demon Hunter if you want to see it in action. The rest probably not so hot variations. On the number 4 spot, we actually have Aggro Pally being the best Paladin deck right now from Diamond to Legend, which is kinda surprising, but stats are not supposed to lie. Again, I gave you a video about this deck not long ago, and it really did feel strong, very easy to go wide with this one, very easy to go with a lot of damage thanks to things like Crusader Aura. And you basically curve off pretty quickly, like you have so many one-attack minions in here which you get the buff with your Busy Bot. You have things like Muster for Battle to go nice and wide like that, again the Busy Bot loves those. The Crusader Aura buffs nice and good, and you can also stack a couple of Crusaders at the same time so they can deal +4/+2 each time they swing. The Flash Sale is very nice and you combo it off very well with a 0 mana Wisp that way. We also have Ursa and Mauls in here, which are tons of damage that also draw you the top end of your deck so you can get yourself the buffs and such. And Ziliax in here is Pylon module plus a Ticking module so you can go even wider on the board with extra damage. Again, check out the guide if you wanna know the details about this deck, but here's the updated matchups. Things like Death Knight, things like Hog Demon Hunters are not gonna be great. Fishing Priest a little bit on the negative, Agam Warlock as well, but the rest pretty good. Going first, again, this is an aggressive deck, so you're trying to get your good 1-drop, 2-drop curve. And if you already have good 1-drops and 2-drops, Muster for Battle might also be a great keep. Heck, even in some cases, one of the buffs might be a worth consideration, but it is a little bit tricky because it's gonna be all the way down to turn 4. On the coin, again, you want the 1-drops, 2-drops, Muster, pretty nice on curve. The Crusader or Flash Sale here are even a bit more keepable, because with the coin you might actually do something nutty on turn 3 depending on the matchup, but it's all around the same concept. Here's what the stats are right now: 58+% win rate, 1700 games, guys. That's quite a lot of games. We can see Quest Pally still doing quite well, not that big a sample size however. And we can scroll a little bit to see things like Drunk Pally with small sample size here. Imbue Pally is still playable, but definitely not the monster of a deck it used to be. So yeah, right now your best bet would still be Aggro Pally, and Quest Pally is still definitely pretty usable. And on the last spot, we definitely have to include Psycho Rogue, because this deck really is very strong and hard to play against, but also very hard to play with. Right now, if we gotta be completely honest, according to the stats, this deck does not have the best stats for Diamond to Legend, but this is a skill issue, guys. Like in Top Legend, people are doing absolutely obscene things with this thing if they know how to play it. So if you really take the time to learn Psycho Rogue, you will be having a very good time with this one. It's far from a simple deck, it's far from fundamental Hearthstone, but if you get the gist of this one, you will be climbing with ease. Despite the latest nerf, which I really thought was supposed to be the final nail in the coffin, but apparently Everburning Phoenix was not nerfed enough. Or more like it, Twisted Webweaver was not nerfed enough, because both of them are still a staple of the deck and help it do amazing broken stuff. The gist of this deck is basically you cycle through your deck super quick, and around turn 4, turn 5 you start dropping things like Playhouse Giants. And if the opponent manages to handle those, you also have quite a lot of damage with things like Moonstone Maulers, with things like Incendious, and with things like a bunch of spell damage with the help of things like Talnos. And that's about it, kinda. The deck is very tempo-y, it can do a lot of stuff very early, and the new Platosaur also works very well for it because it has plenty of cheap things you are able to play super early. But yeah, it really is not an easy deck, so if you think you're up for it, it definitely could treat you well, but you really need to know what you're doing with it. Cultist map is also pretty awesome in this one because you basically get to discover the cards from your deck, which is pretty great, and you basically discover 2 like that, which could be huge. Eat the Imp helps you draw tons of cards, and you are running this card thanks to Maestra. She's not in here because you want her hero cards. She's in here so you can actually get the tons of card draw. For the matchups, we can see things like Hunters are not going to be very good for you, but everything else is actually close to 50-50 or very much in your favor. For the mulligans, here's what people have been holding on to. You want your Platosaur, you want your Eat the Imp, Space Rock Collector is pretty decent, Prep can be amazing, Cultist map very good, Dubious Purchase especially comboed with a Prep can be great, Twisted Webweaver is still pretty strong, Moonstone Mauler not the worst. And depending on what you already have, you might also consider some other things like Web of Deception, like Shadow Step, that kind of stuff. Going second, the situation looks pretty much the same, so mulligan accordingly. Here's the situation for Rogue right now. A very small sample size, but look at this, 62% win rate for this variation. We have this one with 61 as well, small sample size, but the big sample size is this one with 56%. Not the worst situation in the world from Diamond to Legend still, but definitely not in top 5 territory. But here, let's say I just had to make a judgment call and really call out Cycle Rogue, because really it is kind of broken. This is a combo rogue actually, I don't know what the hell this is. Kind of a weird looking deck, it's not Psycho Rogue, but as you saw, plenty of different variations of Psycho Rogue doing really well. Other than that, I'm not sure Rogue has anything else amazing right now. Protoss Rogue apparently is playable, but Quest Rogue is still absolute dog water. For the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Death Knight, honestly we could have probably included Death Knight in this top 5, but It's a top 5, guys, you can't include everything. Menagerie Death Knight is still performing super well for the class. No real changes, you're still actually running even Menagerie Jug, just because it's still very strong. Space Death Knight, I'd say, is still super strong, and even in top legend you could be doing broken things with it. Leech Death Knight is also very playable. The rest, I think, are just iterations of these three, but I could be wrong. Let's not delve too much into detail here. With Druid, Imbue Druid seems to be doing quite okay, small sample size however. Aviana Druid apparently is back on the menu. Dollhouse Druid still decent. And I think that's about it for the class right now. For mages, Elemental Mages looking very, very promising again, kinda interesting. Did not really see too much of this deck out there, but yeah, we did face it a few times here and there. It does have several different iterations, it's not very expensive either, it's actually kind of a free-to-play deck in it. So it definitely has that going for it, which is nice. Quest Mage, not super hot, but definitely playable. And I've heard people still enjoy Protoss Mage here and there. Here's what the stats show, however, just shy of 50%, so I'm not sure how strong that is. For Priest, if we gotta be completely honest, I could have included Protoss Priest into this top 5. Here it is. It definitely has better stats than Cycle Rogue in this Diamond 5 to Legend segment at least, but like I said, I did include it because it really is a lot stronger if you play it better for the Rogue at least. But Protoss Priest is a very fun deck right now, very high rolly with the help of Resuscitate, really hard to deal with. Bandage Priest is also still super good. Fishing Priest definitely still nothing to scoff at. But I think that's about it for the Priest class. The Quest Priest is still not that amazing if you ask me, so I wouldn't really bother with it too much. I have to scroll quite a lot to actually see anything Quest Priest, but yes, shocking, it's under 50%. For Shaman, for some reason Nebula Shaman is still playable? Is this right, guys? How the hell is Nebula Shaman still playable? Very interesting, but apparently it still is up there somehow. It's a Control-E variation of Nebula Shaman, very small sample size, not the most amazing win rate either, but people are trying, I guess, they're trying to cook. Elemental Shaman is also up there. Quest Shaman is also above 50%, but there's really nothing too amazing for the class right now, so it is what it is. For Warlock, Agam Warlock has actually fallen off a little, at least with its most popular variant, sitting at 56% win rate. Quest Warlock is also playable from what I see, above 50% for sure, decent amount of sample size, not the worst out of the lot, but definitely not the most amazing deck out there either. And I think that's about it for the Warlock class, just these two iterations of decks. And last but not least, we have Warrior, with Dummy Warrior still being super strong actually. Here's the list that's doing decently well. Here's one very popular list, 35,000 games, almost 57% win rate. Super annoying to deal with, very powerful deck right now. I will be giving you an updated video about it real soon. West Warrior is still pretty decent as well. And I've heard about even Dragon Warrior here and there. It was looking kinda interesting. Right now I'm not exactly seeing it. Maybe it was just decent for a few days before people caught onto it. Yeah, here it is, Dragon Warrior, 52-ish% win rate, 600 games, not that amazing, but kinda interesting, I guess. So yeah guys, that's gonna be it for this top 5. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and don't forget to download Raid from my download link if you want to support the channel for free. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.